Here are today's top stories. President Rodrigo Duterte remains the most approved and most trusted government official in the country according to the latest Pulse Asia survey released Friday. The House of Representatives reports on the preparations for President Duterte's State of the Nation address. The Securities and Exchange Commission warns against joining a company suspected of involvement in an investment scam. And Barangay Ginebra, Alaska, and San Miguel advance to the PBA Commissioner's Cup semifinals. Good day, I'm William Theo.
And I'm Pia Roses Morato. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom.
Less than 2 weeks before he delivers his third SONA, President Rodrigo Duterte remains the most approved and most trusted government official in the country according to the latest Pulse Asia survey released Friday. The survey, conducted from June 15 to 21, shows the president received the highest approval rating of 88% and trust rating of 87% respectively.
The latest Pulse Asia survey indicates that President Rodrigo Duterte got a higher rating compared to the March 2018 survey, which his trust and approval ratings were at 78 and 80%. While the president got a dominant trust score, Vice President Leni Robredo only recorded 56% and scored an approval rating of 62%, which is a 7% point increase from her 55% rating in March. The president's disapproval rating was set at only 3%, while Robredo obtained a 14% score. Former Senate President Coco Pimentel obtained an approval rating of 72% and a trust rating of 64%. Meanwhile, House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez got an approval rating of 47% and a trust rating of 45%. National issues in the weeks leading up to the survey period include the ouster of then Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, the start of the regional consultation on the draft federal constitution, the enactment of the mental health law, the arrest of more than 7,000 ordinance violators, and the approval of the Bangsamoro Basic Law on both chambers of Congress, among others. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Malacanang maintains that it continues to assert the country's rights over our territory in the West Philippine Sea. For now, the government intends to move forward while maintaining bilateral relations with China. More on this from Maricor Zapata.
2 years after the Philippines won an arbitration case against China over the West Philippine Sea, Malacanang says the administration of President Rodrigo Duterte will assert what is ours while moving on with bilateral ties with Beijing. On July 12, 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration, or PCA, based at The Hague in the Netherlands, released a landmark decision that invalidated China's 9-dash line map, which covers nearly the whole of South China Sea. The ruling also said there was no evidence that China had historically exercised exclusive control over the waters or their resources. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roques explains the PCA's verdict covers only the legal status of reefs, rocks, and artificial islands, and not the disputed islands in the Scarborough Shoal and Spratly Island groups. Roques says they have therefore decided to move on non-controversial issues, especially since the issues of sovereignty on the disputed islands will take many years to resolve. China had rejected the International Tribunal's ruling, which it had called null and void. With China's action, Duterte had decided to temporarily set aside the PCA ruling to give way to peaceful and friendly dialogues that eventually revived China-Philippines relations. Duterte, however, told Chinese President Xi Jinping that he would raise the arbitral decision before his term ends in 2022. For now, Roque says concerns about West Philippine Sea, including China's alleged militarization of the disputed territory, are being discussed in the bilateral consultative mechanism. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Maricor Zapata.
The Duterte administration has obtained a 62% approval rating in its performance with regard to defending the country's territorial integrity against foreigners. Pulse Asia revealed on Thursday the results of the survey in line with the second anniversary of the Permanent Court of Arbitration's July 12 award. The approval rating decreased 5% from a March 2018 survey, which then showed 67% of Filipinos approve of the administration's performance on the same subject. At least 73% believe that the current leadership should assert sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea by using the landmark ruling as basis. 36% of the respondents would like the government to protest the continuous militarization of the Chinese in the West Philippine Sea. Meanwhile, a plurality expressed most trust in Japan, US, and Australia, as well as the United Nations and the member nations of ASEAN.
Malacanang has hailed the government of Sri Lanka for its plan to replicate the success of the Philippines' war on drugs. Presidential spokesperson Hari Roque made this reaction after Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena has recognized Philippines' successful approach against illegal drugs. According to media reports, the government of Sri Lanka will begin hanging drug leaders to replicate the success of Philippines. Sirisena said he was ready to sign the death warrants of repeat drug offenders after nearly 50 years of moratorium on executions. Roque says that while the Philippines is not yet keen on imposing the death penalty, the government will continue depending on the police, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, and the National Bureau of Investigation, along with political will against drug pushers. As promised during election campaign, Duterte launched his war on drugs right on his first day in office in July 2016, prompting a huge number of drug personalities to surrender to authorities.
The House of Representatives has laid down its preparations for President Rodrigo Duterte's State of the Nation address. Rom Dulfo tells us this story.
The lower house of Congress is ready to host the Third State of the Nation address or SONA of President Rodrigo Duterte on July 23. House officials conducted an interagency coordination meeting and a walkthrough at the plenary hall and other surrounding areas. Sergeant-at-Arms Roland de Tabali expressed confidence that they are more prepared this year in securing the President, his first family, other VIPs, and guests. De Tabali said the situation in Marawi City last year has prepared the security forces with more experience as well as equipment to deal with possible threats. House Sec Gen Cesar Pareja said among the notable changes in this year's SONA is that a choir from Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez's hometown Tagum City will be tasked to sing the national anthem. Pareja said the dress code for guests is the same as last year's, which is business attire. He, however, did not divulge the menu for President Duterte's SONA. For the previous two SONAs, the House tapped Via Mare as caterer. Pareja also said that the House doubled the capacity of the plenary hall from 1,500 seats to 3,000. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
President Rodrigo Duterte will lay down the administration's future plans as well as the issue of inflation as part of his State of the Nation address on July 23rd. Special Assistant to the President, Secretary Bongo, says the President will not only report on the administration's achievements in the past 2 years. The President is also expected to discuss ways to respond to the country's various issues. Among the challenges that the country is facing include inflation and criminality, which people are expecting Duterte to address. Meanwhile, Go refuted reports that the President's SONA will last only 35 minutes. Go says the President is likely to express his thoughts on matters that will enter his mind. Still to come, the government says speculation and not the train law is driving up food prices. The Securities and Exchange Commission warns against joining a company suspected of involvement in an investment scam. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Nasa 60 tambay ang hinuli sa ikinasang Oplan Galugad ng Manila Police District kagabi.
Tayo po ay magmahalan, magtulungan maging Kristiyano man o Muslim. Ito ang magiging ugat para sa ikaunlad ng aming maliit na bayan. The marine control or the Payukan itself is your economy. At ang bisita, sana po, mabigyan pa ninyo kami ng mga plano na sana ay matupad para sa ikaunlad ng aming bayan na kahit napakamalayo ay nandito kayo at nakipag kaisa alang-alang sa aral ng pawikan. Taganak Island or the Turtle Island will boost its economy, and at the same time they must have to conserve the turtle.
Kung ginagawa nating effort ay hindi to hihinto, dapat tuloy-tuloy. Kailangan natin ma-sustain ang appreciation, especially on the advocacy to conserve the marine turtles here in Turtle Islands.
The government points to speculation from stakeholders and not the train law as a cause of the increase in food prices. Miguel Hill tells us more.
The Department of Agriculture assured that government is addressing the high prices of commodities in the market as it downplayed speculations that the uptick is due to the imposition of the tax reform law. Agriculture Secretary Emmanuel Piñol explained the train law has very little impact on prices. He said unscrupulous traders and middlemen have found a scapegoat in the tax reform law and higher fuel prices. He, however, said that the prices of agricultural goods could be addressed in the long term if the problems in farm productivity and market distribution are resolved. The agriculture chief noted that farmers usually encounter problems due to the lack of capital to finance their production requirements. Farmers borrow money from local traders at high interest rates, prompting them to increase their prices. Piñol cited as well the layers of middlemen who are earning higher than the farmers and how market vendors resort to informal sources such as 5-6 lenders for their capital. To address this problem, he said the DA has initially earmarked a 1 billion pesos loan facility for farmers with a 6% interest rate without collateral cover. The loan was successful with a 96% repayment rate. The loan has been increased for the year 2019 to 3.7 billion pesos. For market vendors, he said, President Rodrigo Duterte has decided to allot a loan budget of 1 billion pesos and is keen on increasing the amount to 6 billion pesos. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
The Securities and Exchange Commission warns the public against placing their money in Building or Success Stories or Boss Networking Incorporated, an allegedly shady company offering investment contracts and promising profits. In an advisory, the SEC said the company is not authorized to offer, solicit, sell, or distribute any investment or securities. Based on the information obtained by the SEC, Boss Network is enticing people to become members provided they buy perfume and soap business packages with high expectations of profits. A member will supposedly earn from the sales of those he has recruited or his downline or receive a bonus from invites of his direct referrals recruits. The SEC says any investment contract that gains profits from the contribution of others instead of the underlying business may constitute a form of investment scam. Perpetrators of such investment schemes may be prosecuted and held criminally liable.
Manila Water has won an 18-year contract for the development of a 173 million peso water supply project in Pagsanjan, Laguna. In a disclosure to the Philippine Stock Exchange, the water utility said it received a notice of award from the Pagsanjan Water District for the implementation of the joint venture project. The project involves the design, construction, expansion, rehabilitation, and financing of water supply and sanitation facilities in the service area of the Pagsanjan Water District. It also covers the management, operation, and maintenance of the facilities and the provision of needed services. The Pagsanjan Water District will enter a joint venture agreement with Laguna Water Corporation, a subsidiary of Manila Water Philippine Ventures, a wholly owned subsidiary of Manila Water. The project is estimated to deliver a potential build volume of some 9 million liters per day.
The Mindanao Development Authority is seeking additional power supply for Mindanao to address future needs, especially with the proposed Mindanao Railway project. Minda says it is working on power development target of 3,000 megawatts by 2030. Minda Assistant Secretary Romeo Montenegro said the agency can lead in terms of creating a mechanism and coordinating with relevant agencies where the railway will pass through. Montenegro said, should the Mindanao Railway be powered by electricity, the government should factor in the power requirements for the project. The Mindanao Railway project is one of the big-ticket projects of President Duterte, which aims a seamless connectivity in Mindanao. Montenegro said the additional 3,000 megawatts is based on the projections set by the Department of Energy at the rate of Mindanao's growth of 7 to 8%. According to Montenegro, Mindanao's demand for power is increasing considering that the island is experiencing a construction boom.
The military criticized a recent attack by the New People's Army on a village in Tago, Surigao del Sur in July 10. The terrorists reportedly attacked government troops installing the water pump turned over to the Lindoy Farmers Association in Barangay Lindoy. The attack resulted in the killing of a member of the civilian armed auxiliary was killed in the incident. Captain Francisco Garello Jr., Civil Military Operations Officer of the 36th Infantry Battalion, says the terror group just wanted to sow fear in order to make their presence felt as usual. He says the rebels had been extremely affected by the string of new surrenderers, which have now reached a total of 35 in the area of responsibility of the 36th Battalion. Garello also denies that the attack is related to the upcoming State of the Nation address of President Duterte. Up next, Malacanang brushes aside talks of canceling the 2019 midterm elections. Barangay Ginebra, Alaska, and San Miguel advance to the PBA Commissioner's Cup semifinals. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns.
Sintayukan Festival, giving the name of this activity for the turtles. Because without the turtles, we do not have, or we have nothing to compare to other areas.
Po sa adlaw ng pawikan. Unang-una, ang first day po talaga na ginagawa namin is coastal cleanup, beach clearing. Then, meron din pong environmental quiz at saka poster making na kung saan ang theme ay Island of Peace for this year. So, meron din pong mga cultural dances kung saan pinapakita yung different talents, culture ng community dito. At saka yung Dulang Festival, yung pagkain na hinahain ng mga local community sa aming lugar.
nakakabusog ng damdamin na makikita natin na hindi nasayang yung effort natin, hindi nasayang yung effort ng government.
Malacanang assures that the 2019 midterm elections will push through contrary to speculations of a no-election scenario. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says the president has not approved the cancellation of the elections being pushed by Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez. President Duterte previously reiterated that the May 2019 elections will continue amid preparations for a shift to federalism. Roque, however, says the midterm elections could be cancelled if the federal constitution is approved before the elections take place. He adds that the government will follow the law based on the 1987 Constitution.
The Diocese of Marbel has welcomed Reverend Father Cirilo Casicas as its fourth bishop. Casicas was ordained in solemn rites at the St. Anthony Parish's Christ the King Cathedral in Coronadal City. The ceremony was graced by more than 100 priests and 20 bishops and archbishops led by the Apostolic Nuncio to the Philippines, Archbishop Gabriel Giordano Garcia, Cotabato Archbishop Orlando Cardinal Quevedo, and CBCP President Davao Archbishop Romulo Valles. Casicas asked the Catholic faithful and the clergy in the diocese to pray for him and to serve with him with their best abilities in spreading the love of God. Casicas, who was born in Duero, Bohol in 1967, was appointed by Pope Francis in April as the new Bishop of Marbel, succeeding longtime Bishop Dinoaldo Gutierrez. The bishop studied at the Our Lady of Perpetual Help Seminary and was ordained a priest for the diocese in 1994. Casicas, a summa cum laude in dogmatic theology at the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome, had served as Dean of Studies of OLPHS and professor at the Notre Dame of Marbel University.
Barangay Ginebra is on their way to the semi-finals as they completed a sweep of its best-of-3 PBA Commissioners' Cup quarter-final series against Meralco Bolts. The barangay sustained its 32-point second quarter blast to book the second seat to the semis this weekend. The barangay banked on a 32-point second quarter blast and limited the Bolts to just 14 in the third period to book the second seat in the semi-finals starting this weekend. Justin Brownlee led Ginebra with 36 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, and 3 steals. The barangay will enter the semis against the Rain or Shine Elasto Painters, who toppled Global Port Batang Pier in their do-or-die series. James Yap put his best offensive game with 27 points, tying his career best 7 3-pointers. Meanwhile, the San Miguel Beermen will face the Alaska Aces in the semi-finals after pulling off the sweep against Talk and Text Catropa last Wednesday. Ronaldo Balkman finished with 25 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal for SMB.
Rehabilitating Marawi City includes helping children cope with the trauma caused by war. Children of Marawi are now finding healing through art as taught by a fellow war survivor and peace advocate. More on this from Maricor Zapata.
In every war, the children are the most affected of all the so-called collateral damages. The fighting changes the young mind's view about the world, society, their future, and even themselves. The art of healing as a post-traumatic therapy is an effective process that has been used in war-torn areas. Internationally acclaimed Muslim artist Ramir Tawasil is known for his Art of Healing project. 315 children aged 5 and up participated in the 11-day art workshop that Tawasil conducted in war-torn Marawi City in Mindanao from April 30 to May 10 this year. Tawasil himself was a victim of war when Jolo was burned down in 1974 and in Zamboanga during a siege in 2013. Tawasil says these experiences have influenced him to become a peace artist, citing peace themes that dominate most of his artworks. Tawasil makes use of the unique Tausug Ukil motifs and style in his art. The activities in his workshop included painting, doodle art, origami paper folding, and even storytelling. With the children's output, as many as 500 pieces will be framed and displayed for sale at the House of Representatives, where the entire proceeds will be used to create a provident fund for them. The Wasil is already designing other art and culture-based projects for Marawi. He says the threat of terrorism returning in Marawi remains strong, a concern he had gathered during his interactions with the locals. Tawasil, however, believes even artwork can shield children from extremism. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Maricor Zapata.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. It's been raining lately, Will, so do you have any tips on how to keep safe and dry in this rainy season?
Yes, a lot of people are getting sick, so the best way we can stay dry is to wear waterproof stuff. And of course, bring an umbrella, bring a trusty one, because a lot of the umbrellas, when you open them, they just fly off, right? So you need to...
You have a kit or something? Because I have like a backpack in my car that's ready for this kind of season. You know, it catches you unprepared.
Yes, and since it is the rainy season, we're still a lot more of those days to come up.
Okay, so keep safe and keep dry, guys. And before then, here's another look at today's top stories. President Rodrigo Duterte remains the most approved and most trusted government official in the country, according to the latest Pulse Asia survey released Friday. The House of Representatives reports on the preparations for President Duterte's State of the Nation address. The Securities and Exchange Commission warns against joining a company suspected of involvement in an investment scam. And Barangay Ginebra, Alaska and San Miguel advanced to the PBA Commissioner's Cup semifinals. Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter.
For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites.
And that's your daily dose of the latest news
and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I'm William Theo.
And I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Have a great weekend.